All rise, because today the US is being put on trial. Case number January 3, 2026, the United States of America versus the sovereignty of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. Charges include 1. Unlawful use of force. 2. Kidnapping of a sitting head of state. 3. Illegal prosecution without jurisdiction. 4. Unlawful seizure and sale of sovereign natural resources. First charge, authority to use force. The court asks a simple question: under what authority did the US use military force? Because the use of force against Venezuela is governed by the United Nations Charter, and the United States is party to it, so its obligations are not optional. Article 2, paragraph 4 of the Charter explicitly prohibits the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. US airstrikes on Caracas and the forcible kidnapping of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and his wife constitute a textbook violation of Article 2, paragraph 4. The court now asks, was there a lawful exception? Article 51 of the UN Charter allows the use of force only in one circumstance: self-defense in response to an armed attack. But Venezuela did not attack the United States. The drug trafficking allegation, even if transnational, even if proven, do not meet the legal definition of an armed attack. Article 51 does not authorize airstrikes, invasions, or kidnappings to enforce criminal indictments. Not to mention, there was no Security Council authorization, no Venezuelan consent. Under the UN Charter, the operation was unlawful. Legally speaking, the case ends here. Second charge, head of state immunity violation. But the US violations did not stop with force. How do you plead? US District Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein asked. I am not guilty. I remain the president of my country. I am a prisoner of war, Maduro declared before the judge. He told the court he had never seen the indictment before his appearance, which alone raises questions about due process. His wife, First Lady Cilia Flores, appeared injured with visible facial injuries. International law grants sitting heads of state personal immunity from foreign criminal jurisdiction to prevent powerful states from weaponizing domestic courts against leaders they oppose. Third charge, illegal prosecution without jurisdiction. Maduro is not a former official, or a private citizen, or a deposed leader recognized by the United Nations. Venezuela remains a UN member state. Maduro remains the internationally recognized president. Trying him in a US court while he is in office violates settled customary international law and taints the proceedings from the outset. International law provides extradition treaties, diplomatic channels, and mutual legal assistance. What it does not provide is the right to bomb a capital city and kidnap a president. No procedural step taken afterward can cure that defect. The court now enters a decisive exhibit. US President Donald Trump did not justify the operation in legal terms. He justified it in terms of power. He called it the product of the iron laws that have always determined global power. Asked what limits restrained him, he replied,
yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind.
Asked whether international law applied, he said,
I don't need international law.
Okay, but what about his administration?
It depends what your definition of international law.
The court notes the absence of any lawful justification. Fourth charge, seizing and selling Venezuela's oil. The case does not end with kidnapping or an illegal trial. The US Department of Energy announced that seized Venezuelan crude oil would be sold with proceeds placed in US-controlled accounts at global banks. But under international law, state assets enjoy sovereign protection. Customary international law and the UN Convention on Jurisdictional Immunities of States and their property prohibit the seizure or monetization of another state's property without express consent or a Security Council mandate. The principle of permanent sovereignty over natural resources, affirmed by UN General Assembly Resolution 1803 and recognized by the ICJ, bars exactly this conduct. Article 52 of the Vienna Convention on the Law of Treaties states that agreements procured by the threat or use of force are void. The jury has now reached its verdict. On the charge of unlawful use of force under Article 2, Paragraph 4, guilty. On the charge of violating head of state immunity, guilty. On the charge of illegal prosecution without lawful jurisdiction, guilty. On the charge of unlawful seizure and monetization of sovereign resources, guilty. This case is not about President Nicolas Maduro alone. It is about whether international law still governs power, or whether power now governs law. If the US escapes accountability and its conduct is treated as lawful, then international law ceases to be law at all. It becomes optional, one that is enforced against the weak and stepped on by the strong. Court adjourned.